Jacob decides to flee from Laban. Laban discovers this and gives pursuit. Jacob also finds out that his brother Esau, who he deceived, is heading his way. While he's waiting on Esau to show up, a mysterious man shows up in the middle of the night, and he and Jacob wrestle all night long. Will Esau show up and destroy everything that Jacob has built? Who is this mysterious man that he wrestles? Let's find out. Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Telly Talks Bible. Now, we're going to continue with Jacob, and I thought I was going to be able to make this just a two-part series talking about Jacob and everything, but I kind of forgot just how long chapter 31 was. There's a lot of information in there. So I'm actually going to make this Jacob series a three-parter. So this is going to follow chapters 31, 32, and 33, because there's a lot of information and a lot of stuff that happens between these three chapters. So I'm going to pick up back on chapter 31, like I said. Now, Jacob's ready to go home. He's been with Laban for over 20 years. He worked 7 years. The first 7 years he worked, he thought he was getting the hand of Rachel, was deceived and got Leah instead. So Laban made another deal with him. Hey, work another 7 years for me. You can have Rachel also. Well, he does this. 14 years pass. Laban doesn't want to let him go. So he's like, well, just name your wages. And then they get to talking about all the flocks of sheep and everything like that. So ends up working another 6 years for him. But now Jacob's ready to go home. It's time to go home. So let's find out what he decides to do. So it begins. Jacob heard that Laban's sons were saying, Jacob has taken everything our father owned and has gained all this wealth from what belonged to our father. And Jacob noticed that Laban's attitude toward him was not what it had been. Then the Lord said to Jacob, go back to the land of your fathers and to your relatives, and I will be with you. So Jacob sent word to Rachel and Leah to come out to the fields where his flocks were. He said to them, I see that your father's attitude towards me is not what it was before, but the God of my father has been with me. You know that I've worked for your father with all my strength, yet your father has cheated me by changing my wages 10 times. However, God has not allowed him to harm me. If he said the speckled ones will be your wages, then all the flocks gave birth to speckled young. And if he said the streaked ones will be your wages, then all the flocks bore streaked young. So God has taken away your father's livestock and has given them to me. In breeding season, I once had a dream in which I looked up and saw that the male goats mating with the flock were streaked, speckled, or spotted. The angel of God said to me in the dream, Jacob. I answered, here I am. And he said, look up and see that all the male goats mating with the flocks are streaked, speckled, or spotted, for I had seen all that Laban has been doing to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a pillar, and where you made a vow to me. Now leave this land at once and go back to your native land. So now we're seeing here that we know from the previous chapter that both Laban and Jacob have become very wealthy with these flocks. And it seems to me that Jacob here, he's become exceedingly wealthy because all of the livestock that were supposed to be his wages have now become spotted, speckled, the ones that people seem to not want. But they still produce a lot of the same goods. Now, I know for when you're wanting to do clothing and stuff, I'm sure they wanted solid clothing. So if the sheep had spots or speckles, it's hard to make all of one color clothing when you have wool that's two different colors. So let's continue on here. Then Rachel and Leah replied, do we still have any shares in the inheritance of our father's estate? Does he not regard us as foreigners? Not only has he sold us, but he has used up what was paid for us. Surely all the wealth that God took away from our father belongs to us and our children. So do whatever God has told you. Then Jacob put his children and his wives on camels, and he drove all his livestock ahead of him, along with all the goods he had accumulated in Padan Aram, to go to his father Isaac in the land of Canaan. When Laban had gone to shear his sheep, Rachel stole her father's household gods. Moreover, Jacob deceived Laban the Aramean by not telling him he was running away. So he fled with all he had, crossed the Euphrates River, and headed for the hill country of Gilead. So what's going on now is Laban has just up and left. Jacob has just up and left and hadn't said anything to Laban because Laban had been trying to convince him to stay, and I guess he wanted to listen to what the Lord said. The Lord told him, "Hey, go home." So now he's going home. But it says here that now that they've gathered everything up, that Rachel has went back and stolen these idols. And we all know, we're not supposed to worship false idols or have false idols or anything like that. We're not supposed to have any God above our God. So that right there is a problem. And they do all this behind Laban's back, and they've already, taken off. But Laban finds out. So let's find out and see what Laban does. He goes on to say, on the third day, Laban was told that Jacob had fled, taking his relatives with him. He pursued Jacob for 7 days and caught up with him in the hill country of Gilead. Then God came to Laban the Aramean in a dream at night and said to him, be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad. Jacob had pitched his tent in the hill country of Gilead. When Laban overtook him, and Laban and his relatives camped there too, then Laban said to Jacob, what have you done? You've deceived me, and you've carried off my daughters like captives in war. Why did you run off secretly and deceive me? Why didn't you tell me so I could send you away with joy and singing to the music of timbrels and harps? You didn't even let me kiss my grandchildren and my daughters goodbye. You have done a foolish thing. I have the power to harm you, but last night the God of your father said to me, be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad. Now you have gone off because you long to return to your father's household, but why did you steal my gods? So now we see here that Laban has the fear of the Lord in him, so he will not harm Jacob. But now he's accusing him of stealing these idols. But unknowns to Jacob, he didn't know Rachel took them. So he has no idea that these idols have been stolen. So let's continue on and see what happens from here. Jacob answered Laban, I was afraid because I thought you would take your daughters away from me by force. But if you find anyone who has your gods, that person shall not live. In the presence of our relatives, see for yourself whether there is anything of yours here with me, and if so, take it. Now Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen the gods. So Laban went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, into the tent of the 2 female servants, but he found nothing. After he came out of Leah's tent, he entered Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the household gods and put them inside her camel's saddle, and was sitting on them. Laban searched through everything in the tent, but found nothing. Rachel said to her father, don't be angry, my lord, that I cannot stand up in your presence. I am having my period. So he searched, but could not find the household gods. Jacob was angry and took Laban to task. What is my crime? He asked Laban. How have I wronged you, that you have hunted me down? Now that you have searched through all my goods, what have you found that belongs to your household? Put it here in front of your relatives and mine, and let them judge between the two of us. So now here's some deception at play. Rachel has deceived not only Laban, but her husband Jacob by hiding these idols of these gods. And she's hidden them away, and neither one of them know that she has them. So now Laban has went through everywhere and hasn't found these, so now he looks foolish in his own mind for accusing him. So now we're going to get to talking about how Jacob is steadfast in saying, everything I have is mine, it's what I worked for. And he mentioned before that he was afraid that if he didn't leave like he did, that Laban didn't have the fear of the Lord in him, that he would try to take his daughters back by force. Even though Jacob paid the bride price, he has every right to have his wives be with him and his children. It's as if Laban is claiming ownership of everything Jacob has worked for. Let's continue on here. Verse 38. I have been with you for 20 years now. Your sheep and goats have not miscarried, nor have I eaten rams from your flocks. I did not bring you animals torn by wild beasts. I bore the loss myself, and you demanded payment from me for whatever was stolen by day or night. This was my situation. The heat consumed me in the daytime, and the cold at night, and sleep fled from my eyes. It was like this for 20 years I was in your household. I worked for you 14 years for your 2 daughters and 6 years for your flocks, and you changed my wages 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had not been with me, you would surely have sent me away empty-handed. But God has seen my hardship and the toil of my hands, and last night he rebuked you." Laban answered Jacob, "The women are my daughters, the children are my children, and the flocks are my flocks. All you see is mine. Yet what can I do today about these daughters of mine, or about the children they have borne? Come now, let's make a covenant. Let's make a covenant, you and I, and let it serve as a witness between us." So Jacob took a stone, set up a pillar. He said to his relatives, "Gather some stones." So they took stones and piled them in a heap, and they ate there by the heap. Laban called it Jagar Shadutha, and Jacob called it Gilead. Laban said, "This heap is a witness between you and me today. That is why it is called Gilead. It was also called Mizpah, because he said, 'May the Lord keep watch between you and me when we are away from each other. If you mistreat my daughters, or if you take any wives besides my daughters, even though no one is with us, remember that God is a witness between you and me.'" So now they're sitting here making this covenant, basically saying, "Hey, you will not take any daughters after my daughters, and will have passed on," and everything of that nature. And it's sitting here saying, I don't know, in Laban's mind, everything Jacob has worked for is still his, even though he's worked 20 years. He's still wanting to claim ownership. But now they've made a covenant between each other to saying that they won't, mistreat each other, and that Jacob will not mistreat the daughters of Laban. Let's go ahead and we'll finish this chapter up and we'll start the next one. Laban also said to Jacob, "Here's the heap, and here is this pillar I have set up between you and me. This heap is a witness, and this pillar is a witness, that I will not go past this heap to your side to harm you, and that you will not go past this heap and pillar to my side to harm me. May the God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, the God of all their father, judge between us." So Jacob took an oath in the name of the fear of his father Isaac. He offered a sacrifice there in the hill country and invited the relatives to a meal. After they had eaten, they spent the night there. Early the next morning, Laban kissed his grandchildren and his daughters and blessed them. Then he left and returned home. So after all that was said and done, Laban finally gave the blessing to Jacob and his daughters that they could return home, or that Jacob could return back home and, take his wives and children with him. We're going to go now to chapter 32, and now Esau is going to show up. Now, it's been 20 years. And the last we know of Esau is that Esau wants revenge. He wants to kill Jacob for taking his blessing away. But now it's been 20 years, and Esau is just now making an appearance. So let's continue here, starting up chapter 32. Jacob also went on his way, and the angels of God met him. When Jacob saw them, he said, "This is the camp of God." So he named that place Mahanaim. Jacob sent messengers ahead of him to his brother Esau in the land of Seir, excuse me, the country of Edom. He instructed them, "This is what you are to say to my lord Esau. Your servant Jacob says, I have been staying with Laban, and I have remained there till now. I have cattle and donkeys, sheep and goats, male and female servants, and I am sending this message to my lord, that I may find favor in your eyes." When the messengers returned to Jacob, they said, "We went to your brother Esau, and now he is coming to meet you, and 400 men are with him." So that doesn't sound good. Jacob has sent a messenger ahead telling Esau, "Hey, I'm coming home." And then now Esau is returning a message saying, "Hey, I'm coming to you. Just wait." But he has 400 men with him. So Esau has been busy while Laban's been gone. While Jacob's been gone to Laban, Esau's been busy. So now he has amassed this small little army. And now he's on his way to meet Jacob. So let's see how this interaction is going to go. In great fear and distress, Jacob divided the people who were with him into two groups, and the flocks and herds and camels as well. He thought, if Esau comes and attacks one group, the group that is left may escape. Then Jacob prayed, "O God of my father Abraham, God of my father Isaac, Lord, you who said to me, 'Go back to your country and your relatives, and I will make you prosper.' I am unworthy of all the kindness and faithfulness you have shown your servant. I had only my staff when I crossed the Jordan. Now I have become two camps. Save me, I pray, from the hand of my brother Esau, for I am afraid he will come and attack me, and also the mother with their children. But you have said, I will surely make you prosper, and will make your descendants like the sands of the sea, which cannot be counted. So now he's calling back to God, saying, hey, this is what you promised me. You promised me I would be safe, that I would be prosperous. You're telling me to go home, but now here my brother is, and I'm feared that my brother is going to come and attack and kill us. But he's also doing something too. He's trying to put his least favored, you know, children and stuff ahead of his favorite, and he's trying to stay behind. He's like, well, okay, if they get taken out, maybe me and my favorites can still get away. But things aren't as what they seem. So let's continue on. He spent the night there, and from what he had with him, he selected a gift for his brother Esau: 200 female goats, 20 male goats, 200 ewes, and 20 rams, 30 female camels with their young, 40 cows and 10 bulls, and 20 female donkeys and 10 male donkeys. He put them in the care of his servants, each herd by itself, and said to his servants, go ahead of me and keep some space between the herds. He instructed the one in the lead, when my brother Esau meets you and asks, who do you belong to, and where are you going, and who owns all these animals in front of you? Then you are to say, they belong to your servant Jacob. They are a gift sent to my lord Esau, and he is coming behind us. He also instructed the second and third, and all the others who followed the herds, you are to say the same thing to Esau when you meet him. And be sure to say, your servant Jacob is coming behind us. For he thought, I will pacify him with these gifts I am sending on ahead. Later, when I see him, perhaps he will receive me. So Jacob's gifts went on ahead of him, but he himself spent the night in the camp. So now he's gathered up all these gifts in like little sections, and he's sending them on, trying to buy a favor. He's trying to buy a favor with Esau, so Esau won't come and attack him. Something strange, though, happens while he stays at the camp. He stays at the camp behind, where all these servants are going ahead of him. And a mysterious man shows up. But who is this mysterious man? That night, Jacob got up and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 sons, and crossed the ford of Jabbok. After he had sent them across the stream, he sent over all his possessions. So Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until daybreak. When the man saw that he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, so that his hip was wrenched as he wrestled with the man. Then the man said, let me go, for it is daybreak. But Jacob replied, I will not let you go unless you bless me. Then the man asked him, what is your name? Jacob, he answered. Then the man said, your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome. Jacob said, please tell me your name. But he replied, why do you ask my name? Then he blessed him there. So Jacob called the place Peniel, saying, it is because I saw God's face to face, and yet my life was spared. The sun rose above him as he passed Peniel, and he was limping because of his hip. Therefore, to this day, the Israelites do not eat the tendon attached to the socket of the hip, because the socket of Jacob's hip was touched near the tendon. So what we have here now, this mysterious person that has come up to wrestle him in the night, a lot of people think it was God in human form. Some people think it was just an angel. But whoever it was that he was wrestling with definitely had some power, because he just touched his hip and caused so much damage. Now that hip right there is also, it signifies a way of, like, kind of a, I don't want to use the word punishment, but in a way it kind of is, because of all the, things he did to get the children that he has, and all this back and forth between his wives. But it was said that he after that wasn't able to have children anymore. But that's not the case, because I know that it comes on later that he does have another son through Rachel, and we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. All right, we got chapter 33, and then I'm gonna wrap this up. Now Jacob is finally meeting Esau. Jacob looked up, and there was Esau coming with his 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the 2 female servants. He put the female servants and their children in front, Leah and his children next, and Rachel and Joseph in the rear. He himself went on ahead and bowed down to the ground 7 times as he approached his brother. But Esau ran to meet Jacob and embraced him and threw his arms around his neck and kissed him. And they wept. Then Esau looked up and saw the women and children. Who are these with you? He asked. Jacob answered, They are the children God has graciously given your servant. Then the female servants and their children approached and bowed down. Next, Leah and her children came and bowed down. Last, all came Joseph and Rachel, and they too bowed down. Esau asked, What's the meaning of all these flocks and herds I met? To find favor in your eyes, my lord, he said. But Esau said, I already have plenty, my brother. Keep what you have for yourself. No, please, Jacob said. If I have found favor in your eyes, accept this gift from me. For to see your face is like seeing the face of God. Now that you have received me favorably, please accept these presents that was brought to you. For God has been gracious to me, and I have all I need. And because Jacob insisted, Esau accepted. When we last left Esau was filled with rage, had revenge on his mind. He wanted to take the life of Jacob for what Jacob had done. Jacob had deceived Isaac and taken the blessing away from Esau. And I meant to mention too about the name change from Jacob to Israel, and that is the same one. If you notice, his name is changed to Israel. Jacob has 12 sons eventually. He has 13 children altogether. He's going to have another son here coming up soon. He has 12 sons and one daughter, so he has 13 children altogether. These 12 sons will end up being the 12 nations of the Israelites. That's where that all comes from. It all comes right here from Jacob. But now, here we see Esau, he's being more godlike. And Jacob sees this, and he's noticing that. So Jacob is still trying to tell him, hey, please, if you see favor, please accept this, even though Esau's saying, no, I've got plenty. I've been blessed also while you've been gone. So that right there shows you that, Esau was so upset and angry because he thought that Jacob had taken all the blessing, that there was no blessing left for Esau. But we see here that Esau, in that 20 years, has been doing very well for himself as well. Let's continue on here. Then Esau said, Let us be on our way. I will accompany you. But Jacob said to him, My Lord knows that the children are tender, and that I must care for the ewes and the cows that are nursing their young. If they are driven hard just one day, all the animals will die. So let my Lord go ahead of his servant, while I move along slowly at the pace of the flocks, in herds before me, in the pace of the children, until I come to my Lord in Seir. Esau said, Then let me leave some of my men with you. But why do that? Jacob asked. Just let me find favor in your eyes of my Lord. So that day Esau started on his way back to Seir. Jacob, however, went to Succoth, where he built a place for himself and made shelters for his livestock. That is why the place is called Succoth. After Jacob came from Padan Aram, he arrived safely at the city of Shechem in Canaan, encamped with the sight of the city. For 100 pieces of silver he bought from the sons of Hamor, the father of Shechem, the plot of ground where he pitched his tent. There he set up an altar, and he called it El Elohe Israel. I'm going to stop there. So now, after all that's been said, he's back there. He's back, back towards his home. But there's some people in and around the area. If we know anything about the land of Canaan, it's not a very good place. There's a lot of things that happen that are bad. And now Jacob's back home in and around that area, and some things are going to happen. But I'll save that for next time. Like I said, this is part 2, and I will have a part 3. I'd like to thank you for your time. And as always, God bless.